Hello, and welcome to a very special 8-minute demo video series. Today, we're going through a video tutorial on OIS 6.3 Advanced Workflow Design and Best Practice Video Shorts. Yep, these are going to be smaller videos on specific topics. And the topic we're going to talk about right now is policy logging, verbose versus standard. Alright, let's take a look at policy logging. There are two modes for policy logging in the client, and what gets stored in the database obviously gets changed by those two settings, and I call them standard or default and verbose. So standard, if we go to the properties, check logging, neither of these items are checked, and then in verbose, both of these items are checked. Now, you don't really need common published data unless you're checking loop stuff or anything that's in the common published data. But, I mean, you could just check them both, but you do have the option to check either or. The information that you want most likely will be in the object-specific published data, and that's what really makes it verbose. So I have two identical policies. We're querying database for commands. We're going to run a program passing in those commands, and then we're going to get pure output and the object status here. Exactly the same policies. And if you saw there, I have the dirt command, which really doesn't exist, and that will not produce an error in the run program, but it will produce error text in the pure output. So I'm going to run both of these at the same time. It really doesn't matter, but we're going to take a look at the differences between the logs. All right, both are done. You can see we have log history for both of them. We'll take a look at standard first. So we still get the object names and the order of execution. When we open these up, there's really not much here. So we don't know what query was run. We don't know basically anything specific about those objects. We know start and stop, and there is error summary text if there was an error. Run program. From what we can tell here, run program was successful 3 times with no real difference. And then, of course, in platform event, no information. Now, there were events created. These 6 events were created, and they'll have different information in them depending on what's going on. And you can see there's the dirt command. But everything was successful in the log history. Now let's check out the verbose log. Same counts and order of execution. Except now, when we go to the query database, we have lots more information. And I'll just arrow down through it. That was the who am I select statement, IP config, and then dirt. So we get all 3 output items, and then all the common published data stuff, and then the actual select statement, and then the number of rows produced, numeric return if possible, and then more common published data. But there's a lot more data in there, as you could see. Run program, you could see what the program output is, program path. So this was the dirt command, and the pure output you could see there. And suppose when we were looking at just the standard logs, there was none of this information, so we didn't know what was going on here. So if this was something we needed to handle, now we can go, oh, okay, I need to, in fact, you can copy and paste right out of here for your link statement. So go to pure output, copy this, or any part of, whatever your pure output is from the logs, and then here I can know to say I don't want to go success warning and failure, and I certainly do not want to go down the path if the pure output contains, and if it was a long character string I could paste it in there. Obviously it's not. I'm just going to put dirt in there, hit OK, finish, and now if we check this in, it's finished running. So we take a look and we get 3 run programs, but only 2 send platforms because we were able to parse that out and based on the information was in the log. Now, obviously, we could have just looked at the events and gotten that information, but maybe you're not outputting to events. Maybe you're doing something else. Maybe you didn't know what was going on based on that pure output. That's the point of the logs, is so you can track what's going on during policy creation. And logging, really, the verbose logging, really should only be done during authoring and testing, and you should enable both common and object-specific data during testing. You may want to turn one of those off depending on if you're not getting any information from the common, then there's no use to have it. But the object-specific is the important stuff. It's our recommendation not to log in production because it generates a lot of log data. Now, it's up to you if you want to verbose log in production. If you do enable verbose logging in production, you're going to have to watch the database size and maybe even log ship some of that stuff out, because as this stuff grows, the client will become more and more unresponsive because it has to load all these logs in here. Now you can set up log purging, so that's right click up here, log purge. You could schedule it to run every 5 days at a certain time, doesn't really matter. And then you have choices here. If you want to keep the last 1 logs, 10 logs, keep entries for the last 5 days, or if the number of logs exceeds a certain number, and of course delete entries older than a certain number of days. Now you could hit purge now. So if I do keep last 1 entries and hit purge now, this is a universal purging of all the logs in Opalisto, so keep in mind. If I hit finish, see how it got rid of everything but 1. So essentially, our recommendation for production, once the policies are in production, is to run them with standard logging, which means neither of these boxes checked, and then really you should log all the important stuff to an exterior data source. There's a video and blog post and integration pack for the standard OIS logging, which is my recommendation for storing the log data that's important to your workflows. And I'm going to reference that near the link for this video anyway. So that's that. This is the 2 types of logging, standard and verbose. Remember, standard in production, verbose during testing, and then in production, make sure you use external data sources like the standard OIS logging integration pack. We certainly appreciate you watching. Thank you.